On the agenda tonight, I'm going to be having a look and a listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan performing Texas Flood back in 1983. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, here in the UK, unfortunately, featuring any Stevie Ray Vaughan, or at least the audio to it, is out of bounds from a copyright perspective. So I have done a few videos on Stevie previously, and I've looked at Texas Flood, but when I did look at the performance initially, I didn't have time to get the guitar out and demonstrate the techniques that I was talking about. So I'm going to be doing that here. And I'm going to be watching the video as I go. Obviously, you guys won't be able to hear it, so I'll cut that out so that this video doesn't get blocked. But I'm just going to be jumping into the performance, just showing a few things on the guitar, why Stevie was just such an immense player, but hopefully be able to demonstrate as well some of the techniques that I have referred to in previous Stevie Ray Vaughan analysis videos. But let's get into it. And you guys won't be able to hear the audio, of course, but I'll probably cut this out later on in the edit. But straight off the bat, when we get into the intro, and by the way, this is going to be in G flat because Stevie Ray Vaughan used to detune his guitar by half a step or a semitone here in England. So that'll be in E flat. That's how you want to tune your guitar in order to play it in exactly the same way that Stevie's playing it here. So straight off the bat, we know that this is serious because we've got some really cool vibrato in the intro, that kind of thing. It's really controlled. It's quite wide as well. Another point to throw in is about the gauge strings and the 13s that Stevie used to use. He just had monster hands. He just had such strength that he could manhandle those strings. And this is something that maybe people might fall into the trap of, playing with strings that are too heavy a gauge for their own playing and for their own physiology. For a guy like Stevie, he can wrestle these strings, and having the strength to do that isn't normal. He was pretty much a freak of nature with his hands. So he's got 13s on his guitar. Don't worry about trying to play really heavy string gauge wise. If you haven't got big hands or strong hands, you just want to make sure that your playing is complemented by the strings that you're using. So that, imagine if you had this bed, but because of the gauge of string you're using, you could only get to here, and you couldn't get any higher. It's going to sound a bit nasty all the time. Whereas you want that freedom to be able to express yourself on your guitar. And that's exactly what Stevie's done here. Stevie isn't playing with these strings because it's really, really difficult for him. He just was all over the phrases, the technique with this heavy gauge string, which makes it sound even more aggressive. He's also putting in that vibrato pretty much throughout this whole intro, where we get into B, which is going to be our second chord if we're playing in standard tuning. We've got this, and then we're sliding back down to the G flat. And just a little word on the amount of emphasis going on there. You can see that when Stevie plays, when I'm demonstrating it here, having this, listen to the amount of aggression and percussive sound you can hear from the strings. Having this, it's not being played softly. There's so much attitude in there. Same thing for all of those phrases, real downstrokes happening here. Just the strength that Stevie has gets that attitude in the playing. Quickly just to mention as well, where we have this, that kind of line, it isn't those notes exactly, but we've got this dynamic breakdown just within this intro. We've been really into it with all of those downstrokes, but then we've got a little trill going on here that isn't going to be alternate pitch. It's really soft, bringing it down, and you can see the way that Stevie's playing. He's just inserting a little bit of that extra dynamic change, a little bit more feel and less aggression. But it's always interesting when you're listening to this guy play. His solos are a journey dynamically as well as technically, but musically. The thing about Stevie's playing, and this is going to be an approximation, by the way, of this video and the way that Stevie plays during this performance, because going through it bit by bit will be here for years. But he's got this ability to always mix things up and mix techniques up. So when he is playing through a line, he's always got this really cool wide vibrato going on. That kind of thing. But he's got this mix of bends, like that. Also, the little slide and hammer-ons pull-offs. That kind of thing. And the tone slide as well. Not only going up like that, sliding up a couple of frets, bringing in that second finger. And that's something that Stevie does here. And he just does it at the speed of light. He really glides across his fretboard. So when he's got this, that little slide up, he does that kind of thing, only a lot better, just gliding up to that same phrase. But he'll do it multiple times and he'll blend techniques together. So it means that we get this. That kind of thing. So first of all, there was a slide, then there was a hammer-on and a pull-off, then with a semitone slide, then a pre-bend. So slowing it down, it means that you get so much variation in there without that kind of thing. So there's, even though the phrase is happening really quickly, there's so much in there. When you try and break it down yourself, if you do play guitar, you then realize the amount of work, all the lines that Stevie gets through, and some of them are just really cool lines. He jumps up, that kind of thing, jumping into a little bit major. And then he'll just get into some really cool ninth chords here, some really cool voicings, and we've got that kind of thing. Just getting into that minor seventh sound as well. But it's all to do with that perfect combination of top technique, but then expression as well. It's not just going through exercises one by one, going through scales one by one, just something that Stevie played, a really cool combination of the major scale and minor scale. He is down here playing in his minor pentatonics, his blues, but then he's got that little jump up to that major shape, and that's going to be the major pentatonic extended shape if you're playing in G flat major. So we've got this. He's momentarily getting into that, which he does in the intro as well, like that. So it's that, just a little nod towards that major, and of course all of this it's just putting in little bits of the major scale, which is what the blues is all about, blending minor and major together, and just someone like Stevie makes it sound so cool all the time. Another thing to mention is the way that Stevie bends on that high E string, considering the heavy gauge string that he's got. When we get up to, he's got this bend on his high E, and again, same. And that's going to be now on the 5th fret of the B string. The thing about doing bends in this position on your guitar, they're going to be a lot more difficult to pull off because of the fact that the tension is highest at the bottom of the guitar. And anyone who plays guitar will know this. If you try to do any tone bends on the 3rd fret of your high E string and you haven't got very light strings, it's a real struggle. And we're talking about here, if we're playing in standard tuning, are going to be on the 5th fret. And even there, you can really feel that tension of trying to get that bend up to that destination. That tone higher is where you want to be aiming for. And you can also play it if you want to try and give yourself a bit of a guide. But the thing about this is Stevie's ability to play these bends and really play them with such aggression all over the fretboard. His technique never suffers, and it is something that when you hear him play bends, he might sometimes catch another string underneath, for example, this. That kind of thing where he's got that G string underneath that 2nd finger, but he's bending with that 2nd finger. Actually, he's bending with his 3rd finger. So catching the string, bending the 2 strings together effectively. And that's something that he'll do all over the fretboard. So it means that if we're playing clean and then just catch the other string underneath, you can hear the difference. Hopefully you can hear the difference between just hearing a single note and then bringing that other string into it. It's just adding something else to the bend that you're already playing. And you can take that same principle even higher up. Like that. As long as you're getting into as long as you're coming back into your key, then it's all going to resolve, it's going to sound fine, and it's just going to have a little bit of angst in there. It's going to have that sound of being more aggressive when compared to the bend that you've just done that's really clean, going and then going and catching 2 strings together. As you can see there, when you do start to hit 2 strings together, you automatically get a little bit more wild with your playing, and it doesn't matter if you slightly go sharp with your bend, because that's the point, that's the feel, and that's exactly what Stevie played with. Just feel all the time, emotion, expression. He's playing the way that he's feeling. He's not just playing notes for the sake of it. I also love the way that Stevie's so expressive with that right hand, with the rhythm, sometimes moving it around. We've got this. And it's one of those things, once you start doing it, you just want to keep on playing because it's moving along, there's that percussive sound in there, and it's really good to play with that dynamic of just being loose and going more with the feel rather than being too worried about hitting open strings or getting a little bit too much sound going on, because a lot of people focus on being technically very tidy and clean and not getting other strings to ring out. But when you're playing the blues and you're attempting to play anything like Stevie Ray Vaughan, then expression is a must, and all of that you need all of those downstrokes to just get that energy in there. The other thing is the way that Stevie throws together seemingly endless runs, and it looks like he can just do that all night. And it's just perfect navigation of the fretboard, blending together shapes. I love the way that he ends, maybe on a 9th chord. And for example, when we've got he'll do that kind of thing. Obviously, the notes I was playing there weren't Stevie Ray Vaughan notes. It's just me trying to do a very rough approximation of how he then ends after doing something that he does. The notes that he picks out are so cool as well. But just ending with a really understated ending to a run that's just melted your face. This is one of those videos that could go on for years because we're at about 4.5 minutes, just over, of the performance so far. And there are so many other things that I could point out about Stevie's playing, but you just have to sit back, enjoy it. when we are talking about Stevie and his lead play, don't be under the impression that he's just staying in one place the whole time. He's sometimes playing with the chords, getting up into, for example, this. And now, he's blended that position in B, now with that minor pentatonic shape, which is going to be the extended shape here. So it's this blending together, and you can go all the way when we then get into same line there, and then back into our minor seventh sound. So he moves all over the place, and not just to where the chords will be, but he'll go into major versions of shapes, for example. It's going really major here. I'm just pointing out the notes of that major pentatonic shape as we extend it upwards. But when he's playing through that, he won't play, and get really major with it. He'll have that. And then he'll go back into his minor pentatonics, his blues, and that kind of thing, just drawing out and having a little slide down. Is really cool the way that Stevie throws it together, just with the chords as well as the lead. But this is one of those videos and performances that you have to see, so click on that link in the description below. You'll also notice how Stevie keeps on playing at this kind of level with the guitar behind his back and never misses a beat. He's got that showmanship down, the way that he navigates that as well, which I mentioned in the first video that I did on this performance. Just removing the strap and getting it over the other shoulder when the guitar comes back round. All of these little bits of showmanship that have been practiced, and he just executes it seamlessly live, as well as all of the playing. There are millions of people who would love to be able to play as well as Stevie when Stevie's playing behind his back, let alone when he's got the guitar in front of him. So just top playing, and great to just break it down, have a little bit of a demonstration on the guitar. But when I am demonstrating this on the guitar, you'll have to accept that the way that I'm playing it isn't anywhere close to the way that Stevie plays it, and maybe you have to play guitar to really get a deep appreciation of the level of technique, but also the runs that he throws together. But thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below for any other videos in the future. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!